Hello and welcome to another edition of Metropolitan Sports Radio. So the baseball season just ended after the Mets lost to the Royals in 5 games in the World Series. It was a very exciting World Series. Each game was a lot closer than this final score would have shown. The Mets blew like 4 leads late in the games. And if they hadn't done that, I think the Mets could have easily won in Game 5 instead of the other way around. One interesting fact, though, is after the Royals won, we saw how passionate the Royals fan base was. After they had the population of Kansas City is 400 something thousand, and 800,000 people showed up at the World Series parade when the Royals got back in town, and the whole town hall in front of City Hall, Kansas City, was filled with people. Everyone was wearing blue. It was quite spectacular. Also, schools, there were a lot of kids at that. I think it was a weekday that was held, but schools were giving kids 1 day off just for this parade. Just sort of shows kind of a smaller city in America and how passionate they are about sports. Dad?
Yeah, disappointing end to the season for the Mets, but I have to say you look back and it was a fantastic season. Um, Jamie and I were actually at the two of the games against the Cubs. I think two of the new up-and-coming teams that should be rivals for a few years ahead. Mets, obviously, with the strong pitching staff, and the Cubs probably with the best young lineup in the game and completely stacked lineup with up-and-coming stars. And the Mets got the better of it this time. I think it shows good pitching, beating good hitting, and the Cubs reliant on the long ball but susceptible to the strikeout. And the Mets, with four high strikeout pitchers, were able to deal with the team. Going into the World Series, the Mets are riding a big high. Daniel Murphy setting a new record of 6 home runs in 6 straight games. I think everyone's very positive. I myself was a bit worried because I think the only team or the team that would have given the Mets the most trouble were the Royals, and that proved to be the case because the Royals are less susceptible to the strikeout, which is the Mets' forte, and their team speed would test the Mets' defense, which I think ultimately was the difference in the World Series. And I think the Mets actually psyched themselves out because the Royals are fast, but the plays that they missed, they were too worried about the scouting reports about the Royals' speed. They should have just played their own game. If the Royals beat out a hit here or there, so be it. But don't let them take an extra 2 bases, which is what the Mets did when they made those crucial errors in the games. But anyway, lessons for next time. Great season still. I'm still a bit shocked, Jamie, at how the Mets fan base turns on players, which is a bit unfortunate because I think Murphy had a fantastic playoff, one of the best ever. But of course, he made 2 crucial errors in the World Series, and now I think no one thinks that he's going to go back to New York. Similarly, Cespedes, who had a fantastic run up to the playoffs. I think he was hurt in the playoffs. No one ever says it, but he had a very mediocre playoffs for the whole playoffs, in fact, and only he hit 2 home runs, but low batting average, made a few miscues in the field, and of course fouled the ball off his kneecap in the final game with the bases loaded and no outs, and he tried to stick it out, but clearly couldn't do it, and cost the Mets a costly out. So we'll see what happens in the offseason. I still think the Mets should think about signing Cespedes because he fits their needs in so many ways. But it looks like both the fan base and Mets ownership will go a different direction. So we'll see. Any other thoughts on the World Series?
Just shows you what kind of a city New York is.
Oh, we have to say, Jamie and I both were very impressed with the Chicago fans. We went to Game 4, the clinching game, in Chicago, in Wrigley Field. We had fantastic seats behind the dugout. In fact, if you look at the camera in Daniel Murphy's home run, 6-1 in 6 games. Jamie and I are there in the background. But the fans were really, really friendly to us as Mets fans. We were surrounded by Cubs fans during the game anyway, but they were all very courteous and nice. After the game finished, all the Mets fans came together behind the dugout, so that was pretty fun. There was actually a pretty big crowd of Mets fans.
Mhm. And so, yeah, that was pretty good. Chicago fans, even in downtown Chicago, not even before the game, they were sort of saying, the Mets are gonna win this, but you guys have the stronger team, and I don't think you'll ever see this in New York. The other funny thing is how the whole city of New York sort of changed. No longer or at least in October this year, no longer could you see street filled with Yankees caps. Instead, you'll see a ton of Mets fans out on the streets.
Yeah, it's great to see some of the diehard, well-known Mets fans come out also. So Jerry Seinfeld was at almost every game. Chris Rock, of course, Billy Joel, Kimmel, Jimmy Kimmel, who actually threw out the first pitch in one of the games. And Jimmy was actually sitting on our row in Game 2. Jamie and I were sitting about 11 rows behind the plate, right behind the Kansas City Royals advanced scouts. And we had Kimmel in our row, but in the section next to ours. And who else was there, Jamie?
Who else was there? Well, I didn't realize there were so many Mets fans out there, were celebrity Mets fans, because I was just reading this article the other day. I was curious and searched it up. And all the different Mets fans around there were quite a few.
Yeah, and I think more and more will come out.
Yeah.
Hopefully in the next few years. I think the Mets nucleus is really strong.
And I think the Mets have taken over as
New York's team. So we'll see what the offseason brings.
A record 20 players got qualifying offers this year, which kind of shows how strong this year's free agent class is.
Yeah, Jamie, maybe because the qualifying offer system is relatively new. It's only been
since
in
2013.
place. Yeah, since the last collective bargaining agreement. So maybe some of our listeners may not understand the implications of it. You want to give a brief synopsis?
Well, it basically is qualifying offers for your free agent. The team can decide whether or not to give you a qualifying offer. It's 1 year, and the salary is based on the total annual salary or something like that.
So this year it'll be $15.8 million.
Yep.
Right.
So, it's kind of a risk for a team to put it out, because if they accept, and he's a so-so player, you may be overpaying him. But if he's a really good player, of course, you'd give it to him, because even if he accepts, it's kind of a good deal. And if he doesn't and another team signs him, the team that signs him forfeits a first-round pick. And that team that gave the player qualifying offer gets a first-round compensation pick.
Yeah, so the system was put in place originally to discourage or make it less attractive for teams to trade their superstars in mid-season, because if they wait till the end of the season and give a qualifying offer, then they would get a draft pick back. It was seen also as a slight win for the owners, because now if a free agent declines the qualifying offer, then is signed by another team, then that team needs to give up a draft pick. So that team has to give up both the draft pick plus the money for signing the free agent. If the free agent signs with his old team, then of course there's no draft pick. So far, 34 players since the collective bargaining agreement was struck have been given qualifying offers, and so far none have taken it, which is not surprising, because almost everyone given a qualifying offer has been a star and could command better guaranteed money in the open market than taking the one-year deal from their existing team. But like Jamie said, this year there's a record 20 qualifying offers that have been offered, including to Daniel Murphy for the Mets. So we'll see that if this is the first year that someone accept it. I think there's been some speculation that some of the particularly mid-tier pitchers who in the past might not have been given qualifying offers might think seriously about it. Players like Brett Anderson for the Dodgers, because they may not get a better offer outside. Um,